Welcome to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the mortgage architects that are building design into their business to unlock scale and achieve freedom. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who built one of the most respected reputations in her market, not by following a playbook, but by refusing to give up on clients when everyone else would have moved on. A single mom who went commission only in January of 2013 and then survived a year that included losing her kid's father, 20 stitches from a softball to the face, a totaled car, all while closing on her first real home and building the business that she has today. Kelley Sullivan, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you, Connor, for having me, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you because you're doing big things and you really kind of represent, in my opinion, this mortgage architect kind of archetype that I have imagined in my mind. Someone who's really being intentional about growth and trying to, put some design into things. And I think it's important that we talk about that kind of stage in a loan officer's career because it's fairly unique, but there's a lot of nuance to it. And so we'll dive into some of that. But I want to start first with some of what I referenced there in the introduction, which you went commission only in 2013. You had two kids under the age of 6 at the time, no safety net. Your mom thought you lost your mind, right? So, what made you trust yourself enough to take the leap? And then what got you through that first year?
Well, I'm very stubborn. If you know me, I think that's been me from day one. If you were my teacher, then you knew that I've always had a lot of questions. I want to know everything about everything, but why, but why, but why? I was that child. I'm still that person. And so I remember my brother, I have a brother that's 13 months older than me, and he would always say, Kelley, this is not 21 questions. I don't know. And my boyfriend does the same thing. Kelley, I've told you everything that I know before you start asking the questions. So, resilience. And then, my kids, I couldn't let them down. And so, they know they have saved my life in more than one way. And really for them is I felt like I could do it. There were days where I felt like I couldn't do it, but I was so hard-headed and stubborn that I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna do it. I've got to just keep pushing through.
So, what were you doing before you made that change, though? Was this like what
So
got you
I
into mortgage?
Yeah, so I started in the mortgage business in 2004, right after I graduated from high school. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I did, and I thought about it years later, as I did one of those tests in high school where it's like, what would you fit in good with? And it was a social worker or an accountant. And I was like, social worker is really tough. They don't make a whole lot of money. That's a lot of strain. An accountant does the same thing every day in my eyes. And then later on, I'm like, I feel like I kind of do both. Like that test was pretty right. So, right out of high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. A family friend who I babysat for was a loan officer, and he said, why don't you come work for us at the bank and be a loan officer assistant? At the time, we set up bank accounts, we did all that kind of stuff. I was just copying papers. And that's when I got into it and started learning about it. And I just kind of stuck with it from there. And then in 2000, and 12 maybe. So yeah, 2011, 2000, yeah. So after the downturn of the market in 2009, and we went from doing loans to foreclosures, evictions, all of that stuff. My kids were very young, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't catch a break anywhere. And so my boss at the time was like, Kelley, what are you gonna do? You have two kids to feed. And I was like, I know, but I'll figure it out. But I can't do this. And he's like, you need a vacation. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I said, I'll take your vacation, but I'm not coming back. I just can't do it. So I went into retail management for I don't maybe a year, but I always felt and I did really well. They offered to open my own store for me, wherever I wanted to go, whatever I wanted to do, but I felt like there was something missing. I kept feeling like I was achieving all these goals. I was a more competitive person than I really realized I was through meeting goals and things like that in retail management. And I got back into the mortgage business shortly after. And so I was working for like a call center. I don't want to reference like a, like a Rocket Mortgage or something like that, but pretty much. And so it was different. But then I was like, okay, again, I was doing really well, but I was like, there's still something missing. I met a friend who I didn't know at the time, met somebody at the testing center when I was getting additional state licenses. And he's about my age, and he was like, well, I work at Starkey Mortgage and we're always looking for people. So if you ever, are looking for something, let me know. So I don't remember how long I waited. I reached out. I went in for an interview, and they said, "Well, we'll hire you as a loan officer, but we have somebody that's going out on maternity leave, and we think that this would be a perfect opportunity that you would be great as an LOA and then transition into an LO." So I said, "Okay." So I did that for 6 months, and the plan was in January I would go commission only as a loan officer. The loan officer that I was working for was like, I love having you on the team. You could stay as a junior LO, but once I have my mind made up, typically it's pretty hard to change my mind. And I'd made up my mind. I was like, no, I want to do this. I want to go out on my own. And then 2013 happened, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What have I done? And so, yeah, there were so many days that I wanted to call and be like, okay, I'd rather go back to a salary plus commission instead of 100% commission. For 1 month, I'd make $800. Then the next month, I made $8,000. And I'm like, how am I going to do what? I don't know how much I'm going to make the next month. But pushing through 2013, I mean, after that, I was like, if I can make it through this year, I can make it through anything. So,
And you did.
and it did. And here I am 13 years later.
Yeah. Well, and something that I learned about you when we spoke before, kind of leading up to this episode, you made the comment that being a single mom has kind of shaped the way that you see every borrower. How does that personal experience show up in the way that when you're working on a file? And do you think it gives you a certain edge, if you want to call it that your clients can feel?
So I do. I have a very motherly instinct, I think, from day one, from being a child. I started babysitting when I was, I don't know, in like second grade, and I was still a child. I look back now and I'm like, how was I keeping four children? And I was in third grade, and I was like, how was I doing that? I look at kids now. But yeah, I mean, I want to help people, and I want to help people in the way that I want to be helped. So I don't know anything about airplanes or cars or things like that. I leave that up to the experts. So like when I go, I'm like, you might as well be speaking Chinese because I have no idea what you're saying. Like I just need somebody that I trust to break it down, tell me what I need to do. And so that's what I care about, and I call them my people. So my clients know that like you're my people. I care. I take it personally. So, if somebody calls me and they're like, "Oh yeah, I went with a different lender," don't take it personal. I'm like, "But I do take it personal. Like it is personal." So, was it rate? Was it personality? What, you can't win every deal, but what did I do wrong? And how can I be better? Sometimes, I forgot to call that person back, or, I was busy and couldn't give them my undivided attention at the time, and that's going to happen. But I do strive to be the best that I can be, and almost to a perfectionist fault, and my team knows that I don't care what anybody else does. I care what we do. This is how we do it. We go above and beyond. We treat our clients, our people, how we want to be treated. It's not what they expect. It's not an expectation or what everybody else does. It's it's what we do. It's how, and that's how I sleep at night. We do a pipeline call every morning with my team, and so sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I think about my borrowers and what's happening with this person. So this morning, I asked Brandy. I said, "Hey, what's happening with this person?" Because she was in my dreams last night. She's like, "Okay, I will follow up with her. I'm pretty sure we're good." I'm like, "Yeah, I talked to her a couple weeks ago. It's a new construction. We're a ways out, but I don't know like why she was in my dream last night." She's like, "I will make sure to talk to her today." So yeah, I mean, In the beginning, I had a lot of mentors that told me, "You make it you you make it too difficult. You do too much. You don't have to do all of that. Like just let that go. Just move on." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll just move on." And then I'm up at night. I can't, and I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't work for me." So learning who I am is was a big part of it.
Mm.
Is knowing
Well, and
myself. Yeah.
I know you're a big advocate for your clients and that you'll even, call up the FHA or VA to challenge how guidelines are being interpreted, things like that. Like, where does an instinct like that come from? And do you have any really like solid underwriting battle stories to tell here?
I think that underwriters have a love-hate relationship for me, and that has been that has been from the beginning too. But I will admit when I'm wrong, which is not often because I do my research up front. I double, triple check myself. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I I think because early on, I didn't want to tarnish my name. I mean, you're 100% commission. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this town. It's my face, it's my reputation. If I tell you something, I'm going to do something. I mean it. So, I think just trying to dot all of my I's, cross all of my T's. I remember in my first year, there was a couple that I was wrong on a guideline and they got into underwriting and they were denied. And they were crying. I was crying. They lost their earnest money. I wrote them a check that I didn't have the money to write, but I paid for their earnest money because it was the right thing to do. It wasn't their fault that I messed up. I messed up. And I just didn't know what I didn't know. And so that's a big part of it is, people look and they're like, how hard can it be? Like, people every day, especially with technology and stuff, they're like, "What's my max?" Well, it's not like you put an application, the computer just spits out an answer. So there's a lot more to it. Do we qualify? Or people will call, do we qualify for this, that, and the other? Maybe I can't, but there's a whole book that goes with every different program. So knowing all of those ins and outs and being the expert is what I expect, and I feel like that's what other people expect of us.
So, what is that moment like for you when, because you clearly like work very hard for your clients to make sure that they're achieving the dream of home ownership if they've earned it. So, what is that moment like when you cross the finish line, they get the keys? Like, what's that satisfaction or that feeling that you get in that moment?
I mean, it is something that still no matter how many hundreds of closings that I've been to, I try to go to as many of my closings as possible, which is another thing that people are like, "Why? You don't have the time for it." But in the beginning, I had a great mentor who said, "You've got to figure out what it is that you want, what you're willing to part with and what you're not willing to part with." And I said, "Well, I don't want to be so busy that I can't go to my closings. I like having that personal connection." And a lot of people think that it's a waste of time, but I do. I love that personal connection. I like getting to know people. I'm a very much people person, obviously. But there's been a lot of times, I mean, people have cried. I mean, happy tears, I mean, it's often that people don't tell their kids because they're just holding their breath. Is this really happening? That they've been through multiple lenders and they've been denied or they've just been pushed off today. Before this I had a couple come in and they're like, we just need to know what's best for us. We've talked to another lender, they won't call us back, then he calls us, then it's a maybe, it's not a straightforward answer. So here are the answers, here are the facts, this is what you can and can't do, but you've also got to be comfortable. So it's you can qualify for more than you want to, but you've got to be comfortable with that payment. So it is, I mean, it's something that's truly amazing, and it's not even if it's their first house, it's a vacation house, it's making dreams come true, and buying a home is an investment. It's not a small thing, so it's a huge investment and something to grow on.
Yeah. So now I know that you're serving a lot of people in your community. And anytime an originator starts to, grow in production, there usually is a growth in team that follows that. But some would say that growing your team might be more difficult than growing your production. And when we spoke before, you had mentioned that finding someone to kind of duplicate you, it can be difficult, right? So if
Yes.
you were building your perfect like second in command from scratch, like what does that person look like?
Yeah. It's really hard these days because people are used to working from home. Our internet was out the last 2 days at the office, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was sitting here budgeting how I'm going to build an office at my house because I feel so scattered because I'm used to coming to the office every day. And then I have 4 dogs at home, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But I mean, someone who is going to look up the guidelines, check the guidelines, double check them, triple check them, not just guess, oh, I thought that that's what it was. That's not okay. Like we can't think that somebody qualifies and they don't. So, you know, being able to calculate income and look at credit and you can teach somebody all those things, but you can't teach somebody to care. And it's hard to find all of it. So yeah, I mean, that would be the ideal person. Most people are working from home and are remote these days. So, yeah, I mean,
Is it hard to get to a place though where you are comfortable making that hire? Do you feel like sometimes you might be over evaluating someone else and saying, seeking perfection when maybe just 80 would be good enough? Do you struggle with that?
do I overthink everything? Yes, 100%. Mallory told me just before this, she's like, I think you're overthinking it. And I was like, that's what I do. But I'm not an 80% person. So like that's where that's where it's hard, and that's where you have to learn yourself and know that I expect a certain thing, and we're going to have 80% days, but we're not going to have 80% life. So, and we all have good days, we all have bad days, we all make mistakes. So I don't expect for anybody to be perfect. I don't expect for anybody to not make mistakes. And my team knows that is okay. You messed up. Just tell me and let's fix it. Like I'm a good problem solver. I'm a good fixer. But if I don't know, I can't help you fix it. And so just the other day, like yesterday or the day before, there was something that came up that I'm trying to let go of things. And so I said, hey, you know, here's an issue. I'm not mad, but I'm just letting you know that this is an issue and we need to address it going forward. It needs to change. They're like, okay. And I said, and it's partially my fault because y'all are used to me doing it because I tend to step in and try to do and try to fix and try and step into every part of everything. And I have been slowly trying to take a step back from that. So like disclosures and I want to fix everybody's problems right when they call. But we've gone through so many different systems lately that I'm like, there's no way that I can learn all of these things. So Brandy, like I don't even want to know. So because as soon as I learn this system, we change to a different system. But I'm like, that is not a good use of my time. So, for somebody that's looking to scale, to build, you've got to realize where your time is best spent and remove yourself from that time that somebody else could be doing.
Well, and I know you and I talked about kind of the difference between looking at your business like a business owner versus a loan officer or an employee of that business, right? And I mean, you shared that you were thinking of it as a business owner. What advice would you give to loan officers who are actively growing that might still be thinking of themselves in that loan officer role? And how does shifting, your mindset kind of change the way you look at things day to day?
So, I mean, I 100% look at it as a business owner. I'm 100% commission. So, this is, I was on the phone with an IT guy the other day when our internet went out, and he said, "Oh," I said, "Well, I guess I'm going home." He goes, "Well, don't say that I told you to go home." And I was like, "I don't get paid to sit here. If I'm not working, I'm not getting paid." And he was like, "Okay, yes, ma'am." So I mean, that's how you've got to look at it. You can't just wait for the business to come to you. That's what a lot of loan officers will say, well, my phone's not ringing. Well, what are you doing about it? You've got to go out and you've got to look for the business. You've got to do things to bring it in. And so I mean, that's the biggest thing is I've always looked at it as a business owner, pretty much. I mean, this is my business. But I guess, thinking back on that, I say that and I'm thinking like back to like the beginning days is I can see what you're saying of being just a loan officer. So that mind shift, I mean, it's kind of like you just got to take the bull by the horns and just run with it. I mean, just own it. This is your business. This is 100% you. And that person wants to work with you regardless of where you are.
Yeah. Is that kind of the advice you might have given yourself if you could go back to 2013 and say sit yourself down and go, "Okay, let me give you some advice about, what it's like to do this job and here's how you can get where I am today faster with like less headaches and pulling out the hair and all of that." What kind of advice would you give 2013 Kelly?
So the pulling out the hair, the headaches, check back with me. Maybe I'll figure that out one day. The work-life balance, I still haven't figured that out either. I'm not great at any of those advices. But I mean, the biggest thing is just having the confidence to know that you got this and it's all gonna work out. It's great. I've done a lot of coaching from day one when I got hit with the softball in the face with the softball. So I was starting bold, which a lot of people, Keller Williams people will know what that is. But that again, that was something that I can't even remember how much it was at the time, but it was like, I mean, it made me like sick because I couldn't pay for it, but I had to pay for it. And because I felt like it was what I needed to do. And I was starting the next day. So here I am in the hospital and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got this class starting tomorrow that I just paid $800, $1,000, whatever it was at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for this? And then I'm going to fail this class and all of these things. But I mean, the biggest thing is, I don't know, maybe the fear drove me. So maybe not knowing that everything was going to be okay drove me too, because I feel like if you know that it's just all going to be okay, you're like, oh, okay, somehow it's going to work itself out. But
Do you
I
feel
don't.
like the investment drove you too? I mean, you were spending money that maybe you didn't have. Did you feel like you had to see things through and give it everything you had because it was such a strain on finances on you financially at the time?
So, I mean, I could I afford it? Yes. Did I want to afford it? No. So that
Mhm.
was like my first big step up in a house is I went and looked at this house. A realtor was putting it on the market. Oh, I was in a bold class. That's another bold class that I was in. And I was like, wait, what is this house? And I was like thinking for my parents. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I went and looked at this house. My mom was like, what is with this house? She's like, Kelly, can you afford it? And I was like, I can't afford it. I don't know that I want to afford it. And so, it was on the water and it was everything that I dreamed of. And she's like, Kelly, if you can do it, do it. You're not going to have many chances to do it. And you can do it. What are you saving for? Like, what are you every time I buy a house, I won't buy furniture for I don't know how long, forever. The kids are like, what is happening? Because I'm like, oh my God, we're broke. We're broke again. We're broke. We're broke. And they're like, what? Why do you do this? Like, but I mean, so it's in my mind. So now the kids are like, okay, we're really not broke. Like, we're really, and I'm like, yes, we are. So, but when I bought that house in 2013, I mean, we went, we stayed on air mattresses and stuff. I mean, we had furniture, but I wouldn't buy a couch. And I don't even know how long it was. My mom was like, are you ever going to buy a couch? And I was like, yeah, when I feel like that I've gotten to the point that I've saved enough. Like, they're just like, what? Like, but so I don't know. I am cautious. So I am a risk taker, but I like to think that I'm a cautious risk taker. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to push yourself to go out of your comfort zone. Out in that year, in those early years, it was a lot of reminding myself that the easier path was not the right path. If it were easy, everybody would do it. I have a bracelet that I had made that back then, and it says change does not come without inconvenience. And still to this day, I wear it most days. But that's what that was a lot of reminding myself, and it does is change and growing is it's not easy. It's not always fun. It's not convenient. But if you have the willpower and the want to do it, then typically you can do it.
I love that. The change is not, what was it? Change is not, does not happen
Change
without
is not
inconvenience.
Yeah, change does not happen without inconvenience.
Love that. That's great. Well, Kelly, we've talked about a lot. I've asked a lot of questions. I don't know if there's anything that I haven't asked that you were hoping to have an opportunity to speak about today or share. So I want to give you that opportunity. If there was, something on your mind walking in, or something that's kind of popped into your head while we've been talking, but they just haven't been the relevant question to get on the topic. I want to give you that opportunity and kind of open the floor to you. So, and if there's nothing, that's okay. But wanted to end on something, something like that. Is there anything that you'd like to share before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a place where people tell you that you're too much, or that you're you're pushing the limit, then maybe you're not in the right place. Those were things that did hold me back and that did make me very insecure in the beginning. And because I question everything, and I questioned underwriters, and I questioned processors, but the guidelines say this and you're saying that. And it wasn't because I was trying to tell them they were wrong. I was really trying to learn. But being young and new in the business, they were like, this girl doesn't know anything. I've been in the mortgage business 20 something years. Well, and so I'm not talking to her. So, but that's not, you're not in the right place. So, find a place that fits for you, that you can be yourself, and that you can grow.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I would
love
probably tell
that.
my
Great.
my younger self.
Yeah,
Think
that's
younger.
great advice. I think that's a perfect place to end. Kelly, I just want to say thank you for being on the show and being a part of the lowdown. And I'm excited to just kind of see where things go for you in the future. And, thanks for sharing all your wisdom and experience with the audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.